Hey everyone, so we're going to do an update on Bitcoin as we are at that pivotal level of 40k and Bitcoin really needs to hold at the minute, and we are getting signs that a big move may be coming for Bitcoin in the next week or so. If you've been following the channel, you know that we have two primary outcomes for Bitcoin at the moment. The first is forming this continuation bear flag that we are in at the moment, and that we break down to key lower level support levels at 30k and below. Or if that does not happen, I think that, we do have potentially a shot at reaching 53k at the absolute highest before then moving lower. Now on the 4-hour time frame, you can see that we are basically in this channel forming this bearish flag that we have been speaking about right over here. And how do we know that this price action over here is not the same as the price action that we got last summer? Because price is grinding up, okay, and we're basically what looks like it to me, there's basically, every time we break a high, we basically slam back down, and then price gets pushed back down. Over here we were forming this descending price action, descending wedge, which we typically break up from. So here is completely the opposite. Now, when you look at the price action that we've got, okay, we ended up breaking down, as we mentioned, exactly the same way that we did back in February, where we basically made the high, try to come up, retest, and then basically move back down, and we got exactly the same over here. So we were aware of this, that this was potentially going to happen. But if you actually look throughout the throughout the run on Bitcoin that we've had, we typically do get these patterns of breaking higher like 3 or 4 times, in the same way that we did over here, okay, back in April last year. We did something similar, okay, over here at 68k, 67k, and then we broke down from that, and again over here at about 47, 50k, and about 53k as well. And you can see that we are sort of forming some of this similar kind of pattern over here, where we've got these little highs and we break above, puncture above, but essentially we just get smashed back down, okay, and then that usually ends up being, at the very least, some sort of continuation to the downside, or a bigger correction, moving lower. So, that is a common theme that we have been seeing on Bitcoin in this cycle, is that when we get these descending patterns over here, okay, and over here, we tend to break to the upside. Okay, and then when we get these, it's almost like this distribution pattern of making higher highs and then, price coming back down, it tends to be moving lower. Now, having said that, I think that this 40k level does have the potential, at least moving into next week, that although we might not get to about $53,000, of which I was hoping, okay, is that I do think that there is a good chance that we'll probably tag something like between $42,500 to $44,000, potentially move into some of this price action over here, where we got this low volume area and then get slammed back down. And you can see that in the way that this pattern is forming, we might do something similar that is that we got back here in May 2021, almost a year to the date, where we made this sort of ascending pattern, okay, came back down, big correction, and then maybe came back up, retested some of these key levels, and then proceeded to move back lower into that bigger, correction back down. And we were speaking as well that basically, because this price action over here is taking a long time to form, longer than anything that we've seen so far in the last 6 months, that if we do break down, it's going to be a big move, and it's going to be pretty violent too. So we have our bias of moving lower, but although we might break up and challenge some of these higher price targets in the mid to low 40,000s, I do think that we might at any moment just capitulate and just move back down. And I think that if you do ignore these clear signs that you're getting in the market for Bitcoin, I think that you do have a little bit of delusion, okay? Even if the price goes to 200k, 100k, or we go to that 53k target and we get some sort of like fluke massive wick candle to the upside, okay? You need to pay attention to, the sort of patterns that we are seeing. And if you want to find out a little bit more about, some of the other price action and price targets that we're talking about, go and have a look at some of my previous videos where I've outlined those for you. Although we may challenge some of these low 40,000 regions at about 43k that I mentioned. Okay, you have to be aware as well that this also looks like a bit of a pennant, and pennants are continuation patterns to the downside, especially when we get this, you know, low volatility, low volume action like this over here. Okay, that I do think that at any moment we can break to the downside, and if we start to break some of these lows, this is your first major signal that if we start tucking in below about $37,000, then we're probably starting to move much lower. As we're about halfway through the video, you know what to do to help me out massively, and that is to like and subscribe down below. That massively helps me out and continues enabling me to make this content. So without further ado, let's crack on. So yeah, I don't see much of a case for Bitcoin to be moving you know, anything past at 53,000 at the absolute highest. But what might happen if we do break down from this bear flag that we're in? Well, if we do start breaking down and we start to shit the bed and start to take out some of these key lows, what I wouldn't be surprised for Bitcoin to do is basically, you know, come down to this 30k region. Okay, we might even come down in a very quick fashion, maybe even if we get some sort of collapse, but I would expect some sort of bounce and reaction at this area, whether we get to 30,000, 31,000, or we basically undercut some of these lows and then come back up. I wouldn't think that we go straight to 24k first, although that's a possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised that 30k becomes almost like that 6k floor for Bitcoin that we had back in 2018, and maybe we do something like this where we come back up here and then start to grind, have very much of low volatility, and then again start to create these sort of like lower highs, descending triangle formation. So just a few things to look out for, and then we dump. I think it's a little bit early to be dumping down to about 24k, you know, because we have that as our primary target to move lower at the moment. I do think that likely happens towards the later end of the year, maybe in the last quarter. But you know, anything can happen, and that's why I said you just want to make sure that you're hedging your way in between. Interestingly, on the 50-week moving average in green and the 100-week moving average in blue, okay, on the weekly time frame, we have been keeping an eye on this, and we've been speaking the way that we've been wedging in between these two, in the same way that we did in 2018. And back then we got a move, you know, about 3 months before that crossover happened, okay, to the downside. So that's something that we might want to be keeping an eye out here for. So if we start to wedge here, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we do break down sometime maybe in the next week or the next month or so. Whether that's the move that potentially brings us down to 24k, I'm not exactly sure. So if we do break down in a similar fashion to 2018, then, you know, I would expect that by the time we get some sort of crossover, okay, that's probably too late to either be selling or shorting, and that usually signifies you know, that the reverse might actually happen, because when you get these key moving averages, you have to remember that these are a lagging indicator, so they tell you what has already happened, and you know, the move to the downside by that time would have already happened. So if you're looking to sell, or you're looking to have a bit of a cash position, you probably want to do it now before we move any lower. I'm not saying sell all your crypto, but like I said, if you're all in at this phase and you're not aware that or open to the possibility that we might move any lower, okay, then I would probably check your thinking. Don't ignore all of the signs that are right in front of you. I've already outlined, you know, a lot of those similarities that we're getting to 2018, and you know, just the last thing to point out as well is that we are you know, moving into the weekly close. I think if the weekly close closes below $40,000, we're just starting to actually break down a little bit as I'm actually doing this video from that 40k level, then I think again that's just more of a sign of weakness and bearishness in the market, and you know, potentially continuation to move lower. So just keep an eye on that, and you know, if we do get that breakdown sometime in the next week or next month, in the same way that we did exactly 1 year ago in May, okay, maybe the same thing for stocks. It might apply to crypto this time, where it's more like a sell in May, go away, or go away, sell in May, might just occur this time. So I hope you got some value from that video, and you know, it just helped keep you a little bit aware of what the price may do in the short to medium term. Essentially big bear flag. I think that we remain in this bear flag, potentially tag some of these lower to mid 40k regions. If we don't, then I think we just capitulate from here. So option 1, capitulate straight down. Maybe take out some of these lows down to 30k. If not, I think we move up here. Okay, and I think the next scenario after that is potentially if we were to come up here and start closing above $46,000, maybe you know, we might move up to 53. The only way that we move up to 53 is I say this, it sounds very obvious, is if we take out that intra-week high at the back end of March. But if we can't create a new monthly high, then I don't think we move to 53. If we create a new monthly high and by some miraculous reason we move above 48.3k, which is again the 200-day moving average, then I think we go straight to 53. Otherwise, you know, look for continued signs of bearishness in the market and just be prepared to buy that dip when everyone else online was telling you that, oh, you know, it was looking to go higher. Hopefully you can come back to this channel and you can look for further advice, where I will be buying my Bitcoin off all of those people who are selling in that capitulation, because I know how these cycles work. If you got some value from the video, go ahead and drop me a like down below. Keep up to date by subscribing to the channel, where I'll be coming out with many videos in the week to keep you on the right side of the market. And until the next one, I will catch you next time.